Adena is the estate of Thomas Worthington, the father of Ohio statehood. So we're going to walk around the grounds, see some of the mansion from outside and the view of the hills that inspired the background of the state seal. So come along. Here's the peace pipe, the original peace pipe. They have a replica of this in the mansion. Tecumseh presented to Thomas Worthington when he stayed here. All of the famous people that came here and visited. All the children. They're just getting restarted here after the old former nonprofit folded, and the Ohio History Connection, the state level commission that handles the archives in the State Museum in Columbus, took over. They got their work cut out for them. But it's a nice museum. We went through the mansion. It's a 1-hour mansion tour. Well worth the price of admission, $12 per adult. Senior discount was pretty extensive, so we got a good seniors discount. But there's no photography for security reasons. They've had thefts from the property over the years, and so since the 1970s they've had a strict no photography inside the mansion policy. There's a lot of original Worthington furniture in there. The family lived there until the late 19th, early 20th century. We're on the walkway from the museum to the Adena Mansion. It was built for Thomas Worthington from 1806 to about 1811. It was designed by Benjamin Latrobe, none other than Benjamin Latrobe, the famous early American architect, who also designed Thomas Jefferson's Monticello. They have 226 acres of the much larger estate that once was. Thomas Worthington was born in present-day West Virginia near Charleston in 1773, and was a surveyor who surveyed in this part of Ohio territory in the 1790s. Obviously finding this particular area to his liking, he came back in 1798 with his new wife, and in 1806, as I said, the mansion was started. It's just through those trees there. He inherited slaves, which he freed because he was anti-slavery. This is one of the tenant farms of the people who basically would have been rental farmers on his property. It's called Hill Farm. There you see the house down through the trees, the barn and the roof of the spring house. There's a storyboard interpreting bank barns, which are barns that were built in the hillside so you can get into the upper loft from the back. We're going to walk over to the mansion. As I mentioned, walking through the museum, the mansion is beautiful inside. There's a 1-hour tour that you can take, which we did take. As I said, unfortunately photography was not allowed inside, so I can't share any of that with you. So we'll just walk around the outside and show you the building. There's a outdoor bathhouse, which also has a fireplace, which may have been used as a summer kitchen. There's also a kitchen through that airway into that door, and that's the kitchen, which we saw. It's made out of native Ohio sandstone. Our guide said that there were 4 stonemasons working on this property. So it's doubtful, she says, that the legend that it was built in 1 year is actually true. Now we're looking about the center of the picture. In the distance is the road up from the lower ground in the Scioto Valley. And this would have been the carriageway. As visitors came up to the entrance to the mansion, they would have been met by household staff. And you have these stone stairs to make it easier for visitors to dismount. You got the boot scrapers there, and this beautiful central courtyard that leads up the steps and into the mansion, into the center hall. And all visitors, according to our guide, were met by the clerk, whose office was in that door. It's a small apartment, and the clerk's job in those days of slow news out here on what was still more or less the frontier, weeks away from news, asking visitors to tell them what was going on so he could record them in his book and inform the people around. And without those trees there, the view from here would have been magnificent. There's the wash house. The expansive grounds. There's the porta potty over there. I don't think that was here in the 1800s. Here's the smokehouse. Firewood pile there. This is where they would have smoked their meats for preserving them. Keep them from spoiling. Almost looks like gun slits.
The small windows allow smoke to slowly escape and prevent animals from entering.
There you go. Large animals anyway. Well, Benjamin Latrobe was well ahead of his time, putting in ADA accessible ramps for the staff. There's the servants' hall, which we were on the other side of. That's the kitchen there. Looks like the entrance to the gardens. Just like Monticello, there is a 3-tier garden attached to the estate, the mansion. The upper level, there was a flower garden, and there was a kitchen garden below that, and then down at the bottom a vineyard, crazy, and an orchard. The orchard, although the orchard apparently is not in the shape it was back in the day because of encroachment, but they're looking to restore the garden to its historical condition. They're going to bring on a new staff member, they say, within the week, a horticulturist. So those of you that are familiar with Acorn TV or familiar with British TV with the murder mystery Rosemary and Thyme, about the gardeners who become accidental detectives in every episode for 4 seasons, you might see the American equivalent of them running around here within the next several months. But you know, the gardens are still about the same, have about the same plants that they originally had, although there have been some non-historical additions. So the main problem they have here was with weed control, according to the site manager that we talked to, Patrick. And a big shout out to the skeleton staff here. Today, site manager Patrick and interpretive guide supervisor Brittany, who was our tour guide. Patrick is right now on his turn inside the mansion with a tour group for the fine efforts that they're putting in. So this would have been the flower garden, or is the flower garden, and we come through here and you can see where there's a wall and another terrace, and this would have been the vegetable garden. And they're going to be opening this up for vegetable planting, and then down beyond there is orchard and vineyard. They've got high fences around to keep the deer out. The big job being to keep the deer out of here before they eat all the plants, before they have a chance to blossom. Weed control, a problem with the peonies. And you can hear the 17-year locusts, which are hatching, making all the noise. They're climbing up the tree branches and flying off, or jumping off. All right, we're going to walk back to the car, or the truck, and we're going to drive by the overlook site, the State Seal overlook site, on our way out of here. The walkway to the Ohio coat of arms State Seal overlook leads from the mansion down the hill across the approach road. There's a nice little parking area down there. The terrace was dedicated recently in June of 2011. Legend has it, Worthington and his colleagues were up all night negotiating the Constitution of the state of Ohio, and they were undecided on what the state seal should look like. And they came out onto the veranda and saw that view, and that became the backdrop to the coat of arms, the state seal of Ohio. That's what legend says. And of course, I'm assuming that in 1803, they weren't bothered by the noise of loud motorcycles on the 4-lane highway passing below. But such is progress. Sic transit gloria mundi. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little visit to a part of Ohio's state history, and we'll take a look at some of our other videos as well. See you soon.